In the Pacific Northwest, there are so many strange occurrences that a mystery hole in the ground initially seems somewhat harmless. The Mels Hole phenomenon looks fairly easy until you know that it also happens to be a bottomless pit that raises creatures from the dead next to multiple Bigfoot sightings and miles of enormous mushrooms. One of Washington's most enigmatic locations is called Mels Hole. In an interview on Coast to Coast AM, a caller who identified himself as Mel Waters claimed to have discovered a real bottomless pit on his property. This is when the mystery around Mels Hole first began. Welcome to my channel, The Mystery Files. Before diving into the mysteries of history, there is a small reminder. If you're really interested in this kind of information, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss out on our new videos. On a 1997 American radio program, the phone rang. When the employee picked up the phone, he undoubtedly received one of the strangest calls of his professional life. The caller identified himself as Mel Waters and began to tell the story about how he came across a somewhat unique hole on the remote property he owned close to Ellensburg, Washington. It's 80,000 feet deep, according to my estimates, which I took using a fishing line and a weight, Mel stated, and the strange paranormal activities have been occurring in this area. He was referring to a black beam that, on certain days, could emerge from the hole and fly into the sky. He thought the hole had magical properties like restoring the life of animals and purportedly burning ice. The call was made public. Many listeners were persuaded by Mel that his story was authentic. The tale he had heard on the radio particularly piqued the curiosity of one geologist by the name of Jack Powell. He found that a little odd, especially in the light of Mel's remark that it was essentially a bottomless pit. Jack has worked in geology for many years and is aware that the deepest shaft is just over 40,000 feet below the surface of the Earth. Jack began looking at the strange case, but he was unable to detect the hole no matter how hard he looked. Further research resulted in the fact that they were later unable to even locate a person by the name of Mel Waters who resided nearby Ellensburg, Washington. Later, the entire tale turned into an urban fiction. Mels Hole used to be known as the Devil's Hole. Although Mels Waters is given responsibility for bringing the pit to public attention, the legend existed long before he did. Before Waters purchased his property, local government and indigenous tribes were aware of the pit. Approximately 9 feet in diameter, the hand-built brick walls of the pit extended 15 feet below the surface before giving way to dirt and darkness. The villagers all agreed that there was a thing very unnerving about the existence of the hole, sometimes known as the Devil's Hole, but none of them cared or desired to speculate too hard regarding whatever that something may be. The depth of Mels Hole, if it isn't bottomless, is at least 80,000 feet. Waters decided to test the hole after realizing it wasn't exhibiting any indications of filling up, according to his conversation with Coast to Coast AM host Art Bell. He intended to bring a strong fishing rod and a lot of fishing lines to put into the hole. Waters received more than he anticipated when his test was over. The hole had no bottom. Furthermore, if there is a bottom, it's deep enough to prevent the weighted line from being ineffective at 80,000 feet. Nobody, including Waters, has ever affirmed reaching the bottom. Generally, animals avoid it. People who have approached the pit have observed something strange about the local animals, or perhaps more accurately, the lack of animals. Animals would make every effort to avoid it as much as they could. Even Waters' own dogs reportedly shied away from the gap. Even other visitors noticed that no other small animals even showed up nearby and that birds never flew directly over it. The only indications of wildlife, according to several stories, were heaps of bones scattered around the pit's entrance. The hole claims are weird as hell. Waters started carrying out many experiments in an effort to comprehend this seemingly unending hole. When he screamed directly into the pit, there was no echo, but if he brought his small radio close to the hole, it would start playing music that was decades old. The second Devil's Hole, a pit in Nevada that is thought to contain characteristics similar to those of Washington Hole, was the site of more tests. When a bucket of ice was lowered into the hole and pulled back out, it felt warm, appeared to dry out the thin air around it, and even started to catch fire. Mel claims that a neighbor claimed that their dog was revived by the hole. Waters claims that people utilized the site to dispose of everything from obsolete machinery to dead animals. However, it seems that simply dropping something down the hole did not ensure that it would remain there. In the interview, Waters asserted that the neighbor took a dead dog into the hole when one of his neighbor's pets passed away. After that, the neighbor claimed Waters that seen his dog running in the forest alive and well and still wearing its collar. Of course, those are all just theories. Nobody's certain if Mels Hole even exists. This was all about the mysterious Mels Hole, which caught the curiosity of both residents and visitors from all other areas. That brings us to the end of this video, and thanks for watching it till the end. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you think about this video down in the comments section.